Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? My name is David Game and I'm here to talk about Destiny today. Destiny the Taken King launched on the 15th, that was 2 days ago now, and ever since I have been plunged into the darkness for another go-round with the Hive and everything else, the Taken in particular. Now, I'm here to talk about why this is what Destiny always should have been. This is what I guess we expected back when it launched. I've written an article. If you want to go read instead of listen, you're more than welcome to at mygameslounge.com. You can find it there. But if you'd rather watch a video containing the Taken King footage, not any spoilers in particular there, just, you know, some gameplay footage, I'll carefully select what I can. Now, we're at year 2 of Destiny. Anybody that's been through year 1 would know that it was rough, to say the least. I don't know, I mean, the original year, it was what I said in my original review, which again you can find at My Games Lounge, was that it had strong bones, but no meat. And that was necessarily, you know, reasonably true. The thing with it, I had a little debate with one of my friends on the chat yesterday about how good Destiny was, and he said, well, he brought up things that happened after the launch of the game. The Vault of Glass. The Vault of Glass was indeed a brilliant experience, but it was not a game changer. It showed what Destiny could do at its peak, but it didn't consistently do that. And plus there were issues with the Vault of Glass at the time as well, the artificial wall of gear. So if you recall, there was a situation where people would talk about Forever 29, that became a meme, and it was a meme for a very good reason, because a lot of people just couldn't get that last bit of gear. A lot of people were after a helmet, but as a Titan I already had some good exotic helmets, so I recall that was not as big of a deal. Anyway, year 1 of Destiny was rough, and here's a little summary as I've put in the written version to say, you know, what bothered me most about it was that it was a woeful and miscommunicated story. It had little to no investment in the characters, the artificial walls, as I said about the Vault of Glass, and just the blockages of like, oh, you can only do this once a week. Well, I understand you're taking an MMO approach, but because there's nothing else to do back then, there was nothing to do, I only want to do your best experience, and the only reason to do that is once a week, which became 3 times a week with 3 characters that, yes, I did level up. And even that was like, oh, 3 raids a week, I mean, that's cool, but I wish I was doing something else to progress. And of course, you know, in the end, you only had 1 set of gear and 1 set of weapons that were ideal to use. People had the Galahorn. If you had the Galahorn, here was your loadout by the end of year 1. The Black Hammer, the Galahorn, and whatever nice primary you enjoyed. Personally, it was the Fatebringer for me. And you'd adjust for nightfalls and burns, but it wouldn't really matter. You understand? It wouldn't really do anything for you. So it was a bit of a problem. And now, the Taken King has fixed literally every problem I had. The problems with the story, the problems with the characters, the problems with the artificial walls, and the problems with only having 1 set of gear, which they started to implement in the House of Wolves, but the way they did it in House of Wolves made the old, rather the new gear irrelevant. And I didn't like that, because that just showed how little confidence they had in the new weapons and the new armour. And there was some good ones. Chains of Orbix Fell? And I'm forgetting the proper name for that really good machine gun, but it was proper stable, and I really enjoyed that gun, but it was just one of the few in the House of Wolves that were worth even bothering with. And that was why House of Wolves was not that good. Prison of Elders was actually a really good game mode, until you realised that after that very difficult fight with Skolas, it just didn't work out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's my complaining portion done. Now we're going to get into why the Taken King has fixed that. First off, there's a proper narrative. And I mean, like, okay, without spoiling anything, you could say it is somewhat simplistic in the sense of good versus evil. To an extent, there are intricacies that I'm looking forward to exploring, but other than that, yeah, it's pretty by the numbers in that sense. What makes it good? I mean, practically the vast majority of JRPGs are by the numbers, and I love them. Do you know why I love them? Particularly the Tales series? Because they go into character exposition, and that's what The Taken King does. Cade 6, in particular, is now a fantastically funny, fleshed out character. He's... I think I've heard Nathan Fillion referred to as the lovable rogue before, and that's exactly what he is as Cade 6 in this. Exactly what he voices is just a lovable rogue character that goes against the rigidity of the Vanguard. And I say the rigidity, Lance Reddick and Gina Torres as Ikora Rey and Commander Zavala, they are still really good. They bring a groundedness to the idea of these operations, and Cade 6 is like, well, I'm going to do my thing. As well as Eris Morn. I mean, Eris Morn can be comical at times. That Crota, like all that kind of, he's here, all that kind of stuff. You'll know from the Dark Below, if you played the Dark Below, that, yeah, it was both involving and yet sometimes a little off-putting. And she brings it back here, and I'm sorry, I have only just learned the name of the voice actress that does voice Eris Morn, but either way, the point is that they're really good. The whole narrative side to it is it's as epic as it should have felt, from the opening cutscene to the final cutscene. And if the raid delivers tomorrow, and that'll be Friday for myself, then that will be a fully rounded experience that I can finally really appreciate, because I've spent a year not being able to appreciate this game fully, because as a fan I was enjoying it, but as a critic and as a fan as well, I couldn't ignore the flaws. They just weren't forgivable as somebody that wants to play something. And you know, you could say you liked Destiny, but you couldn't defend the issues. And the Grimoire cards, there was a lot. Now, The Taken King, hasn't got rid of the Grimoire cards, and I never wanted it to. What I wanted it to do was take its story and put it in the game to be played. And they've done that via the narrative we've already spoken about, and quests. Now, the quest system, most of you will be familiar, if you're familiar with Destiny, with the bounty system. The bounty system was where you picked up these, like, minor missions, maybe melee kill 30 enemies without dying, and you'll get experience for it. Now, what they've done is the bounties are still there. You can still do bounties, it's not a problem. You can even pick up more bounties than you could before. But now you can do quests, and these quests have this inbuilt narrative. Now, some of them are literally just go here and do this one mission, and some of them are like, oh, well, here's a big quest stream. Now, to me, that's what I've always wanted. I've always wanted to go back to the tower and be like, okay, I'm now officially overwhelmed with stuff to do. And that's where I am. I walk into the tower, and not in a bad way, just in a way that, okay, I'm going to do this main campaign, I guess I'm going to be finished after that, might do a bit of Crucible, the standard Destiny mindset. I'll play the raid when it comes out, and then I guess I'll be on to something else. Not this time, buddy. Not this time. This time, it's, oh, I've done the main narrative, and, oh, there is a pile on my to-do list that will eventually get me a legendary sword heavy weapon that I can actively evolve into an exotic version. And I've seen the sword in practice, even the legendary sword, and it's fantastic. It's so good. I haven't got one yet, and I'm working on it. And again, right now, honestly, I'm in fan mode. I am still in fan mode. I've got a relatively critical brain. I've picked out things that, unfortunately, that I don't even want to say they're bad, but they are omissions, and maybe they'll fill those omissions in during the year. Maybe they couldn't get the voice actors and actresses back for that time, but you know, there are there's some people missing that don't really, they're not missed in a sense of, oh, it's a shame they're not there, but at the same time, you are left wondering where they are and why they weren't a part of this. And I imagine that they weren't a part of this because they wanted to focus on a certain batch of characters to flesh them out, and I think they've successfully done that. Now, in a month's time, when I'm looking back on this, perhaps I may feel differently, but as it stands, I'm actually incredibly happy with what they've done with the Taken King. As well as that, the gear system, as I was saying, I mean, I know I gave you a brief rundown earlier, but the gear system in general, what they've done is they've invalidated all of your year 1 gear, and I understand some people are upset about that, and okay, right, I'm sure your opinion is relatively valid, but if we don't leave behind the old gear, we're gonna get stuck with a House of Wolves situation again. I've always been a proponent of, if you've got good new stuff, leave the old stuff behind. And in fact, if you're gonna charge me for an expansion, you better have good new stuff. Rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, this is not just an expansion. When they call it Year 2, it really is the second year of Destiny. There is more in this game than there ever was in the base game. I'd argue that there's more, including the Dark Below and the House of Wolves. The Taken King is 100% worth the money. I can fully say that now. And I just can't wait to go back to it. There are so many games coming out that I both want and need to play. I'm not even remotely close to finishing Metal Gear Solid 5. And yet, I'm not going back to it anytime soon, because Destiny is here, and that's what I want to play. So, while I will be covering other games, you can be relatively sure that in the back of my mind, it's going to be like, Guardian, you need to get back in the ship. You need to get back in the ship, you need to get your sword, and you need to beat the crap out of everything in the world. And I'm like, yeah! But let's talk a little more seriously about some of the things, such as the Dreadnought itself. The Dreadnought is the new area to explore. And it is... it's more than I thought it'd be. Because anyone that's used to Destiny would understand, you go on patrol on a planet, which I stopped doing after the base game because it was pointless unless you were going after some fallen wolves maybe, or maybe some hive spawns. I mean, there were reasons to do it, but they were momentary, and you'd get out of patrol as fast as you bloody could. Now, on the other hand, patrolling the Dreadnought is a whole other thing. You really want to get deep into the Dreadnought, and it is so open. As open as the rest of them should be. And it's why I can't wait for them to do Destiny 2, because if they can replicate that on Earth with bigger areas, and there are new areas during the missions on Earth and on Venus, I believe, and right, so sorry, it's all kind of escaping me in that sense, but yeah, you see glimpses of new planets, like you're on Phobos for the first mission, which is one of Saturn's rings, I believe, and then eventually you get the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought is just huge. I can't put into words how large the area is. Now, I'm still exploring it. I'm still looking around because I've only recently, I think the day before I reached 40, but now I'm going up in light levels. So your light levels determine your attack and defense with your gear, so you gotta, obviously, we are gearing up again. If that grind is not to your liking, if you don't like that Diablo style kind of loot drop, let me put this on, is this better for me, awesome, move on kind of thing, then this isn't for you. But then Destiny never was for you in that sense. On the Dreadnought, there are treasure troves of just things to find, and the quest lines just give you things to do everywhere. I just cannot express enough. We're coming up to nearly 15 minutes now, so I'm gonna stop just exploding with joy about this game. I rarely, if you hear me talk a lot, rarely sound overly happy about things, especially if you listen to me and Ross talk about things on the MGL Mix podcasts. I'm not the most positive of people when it comes to the mistakes people make, and I point them out. I point them out fervently. I will say, you messed up. You messed up that thing, and we don't know why. There are still issues I have with Destiny that I have no business asking for answers for, but I want answers for. I still want to know what happened with the first year, why it fell apart, why the story was changed. I still want to know all of that. But the Taken King is showing that first year, that was turbulence. That was the issues they were already undergoing, and now the Taken King seems to be the product of what they were fully capable of from the beginning had everything gone according to plan. And that's just my 2 cents on the situation, as they say. I've been David Game. You've been watching this on probably My Games Lounge or the YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and whether you agree or not, have a nice day. Bizzle.